So the first, the first time, of course, when my sister told me this in my 6, 7 standard, it took me about 7, 8 years later to tell her that I have some attraction towards women. It took me like 8 to 9 years. But her reaction to that at that point was that, this is normal. Everybody likes girls and boys. So I had some time to explain. It took me some time to explain that I like girls like you like boys. But she said everybody finds the same, like fascinating and all of that. But over a period of time, she's understood and she's been very supportive. My mother and father took some time. It was difficult for them. I think my mother, when I told her the first time, I came out as both having relationships with both men and women, right? So just the fact to grasp that I was having a relationship was very difficult for her, that I had a sexuality in the first place. That was quite challenging for her. And at that time, I had only heard the word lesbian. I didn't know bisexual. So when I told my mom, I think I'm lesbian, she said, maybe it's a phase because, I've been with guys. So, and she said, maybe I should need to go to counseling. So after counseling and after seeing my journey, she's come around. As far as my dad is concerned, he was the toughest to come out to because he's a very strict character in the house. We don't talk about personal things. We only talk about academics or, some like serious stuff. It's no heart to heart. Very little is there. And I think that's how most dads are, right? So he was the toughest to sort of come out to. But his first response was that, I basically I was telling him that I don't want to talk about this rest of the very money and finance and all I need is like love and acceptance, and I'm gay. And I think that was quite tough for him. Like, I think I did a very bad job of coming out, but I think my feelings were so high at that time, so I told him that. But I think, like a very loving father, he told me that, of course, like, he accepts me as I am, and he really loves me, and nothing changes. But I know it took him some time to really accept it because he loved me as a child, as his child, but he didn't really address the sexuality bit. It took him 3, 4 years before he actually read up even a Wikipedia page on homosexuality, after which he was okay. Actually, he saw an interview of mine play on TV, right? And he was like, "Why are you talking in the open like that?" And after that, after me doing that, he finally read up a page. It just took him one click on the computer to go and read up about homosexuality, and then he just understood that it was okay. But up till then, he while he loves me as his child, he didn't understand sexuality or gender, diverse sexuality or gender. It was like, take care, it's my kid, it's my kid, I'll protect them. But he didn't fully understand that that what am I actually. But ever since he did read all of that, he's been pretty supportive. My entire family has actually been quite supportive, but now they are fully supportive. But I know it has taken them many years, and a lot of conversations behind my back with my sibling also. But like Prasanna, they're my parents, right? They've seen me as a kid. They always saw how tomboyish I was, and I was like, my mom and father know me better than I know myself, So at some point, they had to accept that this is what my gender or this is my sexuality, because they always known it, I feel, you know.
Uh, Sonal, do you have any suggestions for parents if they have to come across situations like this?
Yeah, I think my main suggestion to parents is that, what happens is the parents from the communities that I work, it's the most difficult for us to come out to parents. The reason for that is because we love our parents and we feel like the relationship may change, that they may not love us anymore, or they'll, and in extreme situation, beat us up or throw us out of the house, right? So if your child is coming out to you, they've probably done lot of thinking, before they came up to you. And if they do tell you, I think what you need to tell them before anything else is that you love them irrespective, and this doesn't change anything, because that is the primary fear, you know. Second thing is that asking them why are they coming out. Like, I came out to my mother because I was facing this bullying in school and I needed some support, right? So to ask them that, is there any support that they need from your end? And thirdly, if you are in a space that you don't fully understand, you should tell them that, I love you, but I don't fully understand this. You need to give me some time to, read up on this. So that sort of helps. But I think a lot of parents, they get a bit scared when their child comes out, that key, okay, how is future going to be? How are they going to manage? And what will society think? And all of these 100 things. So sometimes they want to fix you so that you don't fail in life, right? But the thing is that if you just tell them that you love them, they know how to make the rest of the journey. Like they can handle the rest of the homophobia and discrimination if you are there. At least that's what's happened to me, and majorly to the people whose parents have been supportive. That वो बाकी homophobia we can handle, but I don't think one can handle when your parents don't love you. That's difficult. And we don't say these things, right? We never talk about these things. कभी नहीं होने वाला. We talk about gender sexuality or sit down and have a conversation with our children. So if you are the kind of person who's not able to have a direct conversation about gender sexuality, at least have it indirectly. So for example, if there's a debate going on LGBTQ, don't just change the channel, right? So if there is some program coming, you talk openly to your wife or your husband that what you think. For us, knowing that you are even talking about the subject, maybe not to us directly, that is enough. Just being totally blank, we don't know nothing, right? It creates a lot of fear. So you feel like maybe your parents don't know. And funnily, all young people assume that my parents won't understand this. They don't know anything about this. They just assume that like their parents have not lived like 40 years more than you, that they know life. They just assume कि इनको कुछ नहीं पता होगा. So when you talk, it helps to build that culture of reducing the fear if your child needs to come out to you.
Thank you, Sonal. And I know about you that you are a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Can you kindly share some more? How did you get into that area, and maybe a little more about your films? And is there any opportunity for us to watch those films? Kindly share something about that.
Yeah, I think films have been very important in my life. So when I saw the first queer film, right, in my life, when I was like 17, 18, it helped me like accept myself a little bit more. And then watching films at the Kashish Mumbai International Queer Film Festival, which were very positive, they really gave me like made me very hopeful. So I mean, I really believe in this power of storytelling. And for me personally, also the first project that I worked on at the Hamsafar Trust when I decided to be with the community was a film project, where I was listening to like 20 people talk about the LGBTQ movement, which just fundamentally changed me, because these were brave people who were doing brave work when there was no law to support. So it sort of pushed me, seeing their interviews and those films, to do more community work. But the more I kind of worked on films, I realized that there are queer films, but there aren't enough queer films, especially not for advocacy, and very few queer films on lesbian, bisexual, and trans masculine persons. So I felt the need to make stories myself. So I have been creating films. I have basically learned on the job. I don't have so much film experience, but I have learned on the job, and now I make films myself. So if you want to watch my films, they are available on my YouTube channel. I have made a lot of films on trans issues as well. Mainly right now, my focus has been to document the LGBTQ movement as well. So whether it has been why people are not able to access HIV medication, or what happened to the community in the pandemic, and what are the challenges of the lesbian community, I'm trying to document all of that and bring more positive stories.
Okay. Thank you very much. And you just used the word that the struggles during the pandemic time.
Yeah.
Can you share one or two incidents? Maybe can I go a little more time, Reverend Jyoti? Kumar? Maybe my time is still not yet end, but still 20 minutes time you gave. But can I go a little more, another 5 minutes or five?
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah.
I'll
Yes.
try to be brief. I'll try
Yeah.
to be brief. Yeah, I think Prasanna, the main problem was that during the pandemic, a lot of people had to go back home, and a lot of people were not out to their family. So when we are outside the family, if we are having problem about our gender sexuality, or feeling feeling constrained, we have our friends to talk to. But a lot of people who are at home, they couldn't talk to their friends, they couldn't talk to their partners, because there was a lot of vigilation happening, like parents wanting to know, who are you talking to, why are you talking, who is this, all of that. For a lot of trans people, they were forced to wear clothes that they were not, or they were being commented on that, like behave like a girl, or all that kind of stuff. So I think hiding that gender and sexuality was very difficult for people. So a lot of people were feeling the pressure to come out, because you're constantly in the closeted space, and your parents are commenting on your gender or sexuality. They are asking you, when are you getting married, meet some boys, all of this. So it was quite difficult for a lot of people. Other than that, for trans masculine people, there was a lot of problem with medication. They had started on some hormonal therapy, and their body has changed and all, and they are looking like male, but their period started because they didn't have their medication. So that was that lot of gender dysphoria was happening, because hormonal medication is not considered essential medication. So you are having problems with your body because the government doesn't think your medication is essential. So that was quite difficult, I would say. Very many people feeling suicidal, because parents don't know and they are troubling you, and it was just very, very difficult, I think, for people overall. But I think the worst affected was the trans women community, because their source of earning was completely blocked. So no money to earn, no food, no water. um, Food was the main problem, and even if we sort of got you ration, they don't have that gas khatam ho gaya hai, so it was literally like very difficult. Like it was down to just food and water, the basics. Um, yeah, it was quite tough. So we as like different organizations, we got together and we did some funding. So I have documented what all happened in 3 of my films, which are there on my YouTube channel. One is called Parva, the other is called Ye Maas Bhi Utrega, and the third is just documenting the movement. It's called uh, yeah, documenting the stories. You can find it on Sonal Gyani YouTube. I'll share the channel if you want.
Thank
And
you very
otherwise,
much.
also very happy
Yeah,
to help you with whatever you need. Everybody on the call. Yeah.
yeah. We will keep in touch with you.
Yes.
No more. Yeah. Thank you. And maybe the fine. I have. Okay. I'll club these two questions together. One is, um, what suggestions would you like to give to the non-LGBTQ community so that we all can live together in peace? And that is one question. And do you have any suggestions to the church?
Yeah.
Because most of us who are sitting here are related to the church and then theological training. So your suggestions would help us. And that is the last question.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, when we were thinking initially, when I started work with the church, the impression was that the church is trying to get queer people and convert them to Christianity. And I think there's a fundamental problem there. Because the problem is not with us converting to Christianity. The problem is in your space, people are leaving the church. I am finding many queer persons, because they feel not accepted by the church, leaving the church space altogether, and then just come totally giving up on faith and religion altogether. And this is because certain homophobic statements are made from the podium, or generally the feeling is that I will not be sort of supported here. So the thing is that the people are already sitting in the congregation, in your congregation, and those are the ones you are sort of pushing away. So I think the work needs to happen within first, rather than external bringing to Christianity, which is also important. But I think what is happening currently is, when I listen to young people, they are very conflicted when it comes to sexuality and faith. And I think more material, if there is material on sexuality and faith, gender and faith, how they intersect, it needs to be available to queer persons. So people should know if there is some work happening. So the thing is that when I've talked to some Christian people who left the church, and telling them about my work and giving them some of the work of the NCCI, they have just broken down. Like they have just started crying when I've said that, they said they use the word lesbian, bisexual in their prayer. So they have just broken down completely. So it's not like the faith is not there. That faith is still there, but it's such a conflicted relationship. But I think that I have the faith that it can be worked on. But I think that they need to know about where does the two intersect. So if there is any work, they need to know. Other than that, when I talk about like regular people who are not from the community, I think there has been a little bit of unfair pressure put on the community to educate allies. I think that it should be the allies educating themselves as much as possible. So there is, like I said, like for my own father, He just had to go and Wikipedia it, and he got a lot of information. Like that, there is a lot of material on YouTube already available for you to, sort of read. And when it's not, then there are, of course, so many people who are available to sort of help you. But also important to give platforms. So, for example, this is a great way of creating a platform, and then we can talk to you. So both ways, I think if you can make room for platform for a sensitization session to happen, work on policy change, those are the things which will really help. But I think if you asked me what is the single most thing that means, what does an ally mean? Like, I think ally would mean to be a friend and do the things that a friend would. So if you saw somebody getting bullied, you need to say that you don't agree with that bullying. You need to stand up at that point and, make more room for your friend to feel included amongst your friends. So how would you do that? You would introduce them, right? You would create spaces where both can sort of interact. And sometimes you might have to talk to somebody in advance if, a queer person is sort of going to come. Like in this case, right? You've all been told that a queer person's going to come and talk. So there is some safety also put in place. So those kind of things. So if you always find yourself conflicted about a question, just think that would it be appropriate to ask to my own self? And if you feel like it wasn't, then maybe it's best not to ask it, at least in a public space. Definitely. And without consent to name. And yeah, also just please keep everything confidential. Just because I'm telling you doesn't mean I'm out to my family and out to everybody. In my case, I'm out to everyone, but not everybody will be. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sonal. Very, very much inspiring and educative session. And I have learned a lot. Thank you so much.